Hey Crypt Dwellers, it's November, it's dark at 5, so that means only one thing. It's time to binge watch anime and start making costumes for the spring. Sometimes with an anime series, we get an abrupt and unexplained ending where the show just stops after 12 episodes or one season, whatever the case may be, and it looks like we're never going to see it again. But sometimes we get a second season, and that is what is happening with today's review. Infinite Stratos finally has a second season. Quick refresher on the first season of Infinite Stratos if you haven't seen it or it's been a while since you watched it. Infinite Stratos takes place in a world where the nations of the world have achieved a semblance of peace by agreeing to settle any differences basically with a high-tech gentleman's duel done with these kind of mech suits called ISs, or Infinite Stratos, giving the show its namesake. Now the funny thing about an IS is that for some unknown reason it can only be piloted by a female. Until we meet our protagonist Ichika Okamura, who for some reason is the one male who can pilot an IS. Now as this is sort of like an international sporting event more than anything else, people from around the world will come to an academy to train to become better IS fighters. And as I said, this is an academy entirely made up of girls because only females can pilot the IS until Ichika. So basically we're kind of thrust into this odd situation where it seems like, okay, yeah, we've got kind of a mech show, but you realize very quickly this is kind of a harem anime too, because Ichika is the one boy in a sea of girls. And so the show has elements of that, but the first season was filled with a lot of good IS fighting. It's really cool to see, like, you know, mech style fightings, but the characters are exposed, like, from the torso up, but then, you know, the arms, legs are covered with armor, and they have, you know, wings and propulsion systems and giant weapons. And the first season ended with a big fight with a rogue experimental IS, which was really kind of like a needed turn because even the audience was kind of watching this and saying like, oh, you have these amazing weapons basically, but you don't use them in any military capacity whatsoever. And they finally did that in the finale with saying like, yes, people are using it. So there's hidden agendas in the world. And this isn't like, this is obviously a frail piece that they have brokered by this deal with IS fighting. So the second season just picks up from where the first one left off, but more on like the harem anime high school side of things. Like the first 3 episodes are basically Ichika dealing with his many girl problems. And the thing that always kind of made me laugh about this main cast of girls is that they are respective candidates for various countries, i.e., you know, they're basically the champion for, say, China, Germany, England, France are the main ones. And this just immediately reminded me of G Gundam, where you had the Gundam fight and each country had a Gundam that they sent to Earth to decide who would get to be the ruler of the world, basically. So it kind of reminded me of that, only you had adolescent girls as all the pilots. And a kind of thing that is definitely a source of humor, but is also annoying at the same point, is the fact that, you know, all these girls are fixated on Ichika in various ways. Two of them are childhood friends of his. One, the German one, surprise, surprise, is kind of like the forcible one who actually uses the phrase, "I'm going to make him my bride," which is funny, but it's also like just flagrant stereotyping. But again, this is a source of humor. It is like a cliche, but at the same time, it's delivered in a way that you just watch it and you buy it and you believe it, which I think is why this is successful. Harem animes tend to just be annoying and old jokes, and they just keep saying the same thing over and over again. And this also has a lot to do with who your protagonist is. And I think Ichika is a very good protagonist for this kind of show because he's indifferent to the point of being oblivious. Like, he does know he's the one guy here. He knows they're all kind of like annoying. He does not realize that they're all like romantically interested in him. He does not realize that every single girl in this school basically is romantically interested in him, because he, and it seems almost literally because you haven't seen another male in the show, he's the only guy in the world. But because Ichika is oblivious to this, it's actually a really good angle to this, because anything he does, he's just doing to be nice. He is just a good guy. He is not like doing this with ulterior motives. He's just like kind of an underdog who's trying to be the best he can be in this weird situation of him being the one guy who can be an IS pilot surrounded by a sea of women. It's almost like kind of flip-flopping the script on gender role, because he's, you know, the one who people didn't believe it could happen, and therefore there's probably something wrong with him. But as I said, that's the first part of the show. However, around episode 4, we get back into the militaristic side of this show, which is really the interesting part of it, where we discover an antagonist behind the scene, an organization that is stealing prototype ISs and using them for their own purposes. And the mystery of why Ichika is the only boy who can pilot an IS starts to be addressed, which was something we needed to know, and the fact that the second season is getting to it is just well done on its part. Like I said, this show is just, it's a fun show to watch. You are going to have these harem anime cliches. The second season is definitely more Ishi than the first one. Like, a lot of the, you know, way more exposed skin and like somehow falling onto poor Ichika. And you do really feel bad for him. Like, he's just being tormented by a bunch of girls. But also the fact that we're getting into that more mysterious and militaristic side of things. And I think some of the new mech designs are really cool. We're introduced to one in episode 4 called Zephyr, which is an IS that is very spider looking. And it was like really well done. It kind of reminded me of the Tachikomas from Ghost in the Shell. And it was a really good look. And I think, you know, getting to this side of the show is what we wanted, it's what we needed, and it's why the show's going to keep being interesting to watch. So, with that, I definitely recommend that you watch the first season and then come back to this one, just so you can kind of have an understanding of certain things. Like, you know, they'll throw out certain combat terms that they don't address right away. Like when Ichika says ignition boost, that's actually his IS's special technique, which is like a big focus in the first season. So go watch the first season. The second season is on Crunchyroll. I watch all my stuff there. I'm not sponsored by them, I just love the service, and if you can get premium on them, I definitely recommend it. And so that's my quick review for Infinite Stratos Season 2. Go watch it. And while you're on the channel, you can check out the preview for our new upcoming series, Cost Profiles, where we will be featuring cosplayers from my local area, which is Southern Ontario's Niagara area. We have this fantastic cosplay community that I think needs to be featured more and give a voice to some of these amazing cosplayers. So there's like a 30-second preview reel of some of the people we got to run into and talk to, and I'm really looking forward to letting you meet some of these people. So just click the annotation here to seek the preview reel for Cost Profiles, and we will see you next time.